Me just thank you so much. Thank you, Leo, and thank you, Ukie, for our afternoon and morning here in Brazil now, or almost afternoon now. We are here to introduce you guys who doesn't know about the Brazilian game industry, game development industry. We want to give an overview of the industry here in the continent, and especially here in Latin America, and of course Brazil, and how you can start engaging with the studios, game development studios, or with the ecosystem here in Brazil. If you want to establish, for example, a branch here in the country, or understand more how the laws and the new laws for video games here works, and everything related to establish a business here or doing business with a Brazilian company. So we'll do several talks here with specialists from different areas of the ecosystem here. I hope everybody can enjoy our moment here to share about the country and how we've been working with especially with UK and other countries alongside partnerships and of course publishing business, etc. So welcome and thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. I really appreciate it. I should, whilst you're getting your presentation ready, I should just go through a couple of bits and pieces. Firstly, welcome as well. This is the second of 4 virtual trade missions taking place over the next week or so. Today we'll obviously be focusing on Brazil. Tomorrow we'll be in China, which is very exciting. And on Monday, we'll be in the UAE. So, there's a couple more trade missions, virtual trade missions to come along to. I mean, as you're probably aware, the aim of these virtual trade missions is to equip games companies with invaluable insights into doing business in these foreign markets, and understanding the landscapes of how everything hangs together, and looking at the opportunities that lie there. So my name's Leo. I work here in the membership team for Ukie. If you have any Zoom issues during the session, please let me know. But otherwise, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Any questions that you guys have, there should be a Q&A box down at the bottom. It'd be really good if you can use those. If you want to sort of wait until the end of the session to ask a question, just sort of put up your hand in the chat, and I'll make you able to talk. But we'll try and read out the questions as we go along for everyone's benefit. And but yeah, first of all, without further ado, Rodrigo, do you want to start? Are you ready?
Yes. Let me just share my screen here and be ready. I'll just move my screens here. Oh, sorry. So the idea here is now I'll do like a brief introduction about the ecosystem here in Brazil, according to our last year's national survey of the industry, just to give you an idea of the size of our market and how we are, where our studios are established, and some important and interesting numbers for you understands where we are in terms of game development, right? And after Gustavo here, Steinberg from gamescom LATAM will give an overview about the now gamescom LATAM event, which was the first edition this year, was held this year in Sao Paulo in June. And gamescom LATAM obviously is an evolution of what we had in the previous 10 years of our big festival, which was our main event. Now our main event is Gamescom LATAM. But just to land you guys a little, where just to give an overview for you people to where we are in terms of industry. You've may heard a lot this year about our evolution in terms of how we are tackling the ecosystem here in the public side, in the private side, but obviously in the public side we have a lot of news to share with the world after our recent law, the video games law, being approved by the Senate and by the president, and establish a new chapter here in the country. So just to understand a little, if you don't know exactly what's Brazil and what's Latin America in the video game ecosystem, right? So we are the largest game market here in Latin America, including Mexico, right? But Brazil is the largest one in terms of consumers, right? We are the fifth largest market game market for mobile, right? Just India, China, and other gigantic with a gigantic population country. So we are mobile first, still mobile first, but there's a caveat I will share later in the presentation about it. But it was still a very important mobile first country. We are the 10th largest market in the world, 70%, and 70% of our population, this is a recent number from this year, plays something. When we say play something, it's play hyper casual games in a bus, commuting from one point to another, or hardcore gamers playing a couple of hours per day or per week. So 70%. So this is what we consider a player, right? So 77% of the population plays something. Remember, we are almost 200 million people here in the country, right? 300 million population. So according to Newzoo, the expenditure here in games of who plays mobile games and PC games, PC and console games, spend 83% of these players spend something in in-app purchases. So in-app purchases is a very important and big deal and big business for video games in Brazil, right? Let's talk a little bit about the legal framework. We're gonna going back and forth this because this is something new from this year. So the legal framework or the new video game law here in Brazil. It will change the development market here from now on. To summarize, what's the legal framework does? Some are really similar for what you people have in UK in terms of not exactly tax rebates, but in other incentives that the government does for the video game industry. I can say we are a little bit late in this game, right? So other European countries like UK or France and now Germany and other countries has these incentives and benefits created almost or more than a decade ago. Now Brazil are establishing their first ones, right? So we are in this legal framework, we're establishing some initial incentives for you to operate a business in the video game industry here in Brazil. Remember, nowadays we are we have a different and clear vision and a very strict division between what is video games and what is other formats of gaming, right? So or the bets and gambling, etc. Right? So there are different laws for it. In Brazil, were before 2023 was something very cloudy in terms of definitions of what is a video game, what is a bet company, or even a gambling. Nowadays, to 2024 is a very important year to separate the markets, right? So video game has their own law, bets, gambling, and etc. has different approaches in the country. So this is important for security, right? So for legal security and to guarantee the operations of the video game companies to be non be confused of any kind of other gaming related business, right? Another important point here is foster public education through video games, right? So the legal framework implies, not implies, but explicit that the government needs to use video games to modernize their approach into education, right? So educational games and really other educational initiatives for other sectors of the economy, like health or corporate training, etc., or even for basic education, video games now are allowed to be done. And of course, the government can do the public. They can buy, of course, these productions to their education, to our education ecosystem. So this is an important change, and this is in the law. So the government needs to follow it. We are working closely because the legal framework opens the discussion, doesn't settle anything, but open and the possibilities to discuss incentives and benefits to work with logistics. We know, and most of you know, that working with Latin American countries or countries like India and other ones, it's tough to get dev kits, for example, for a production, or even to work with prototypes, next gen prototypes, and other equipments that they're needed for a video game production, right? So the legal framework guarantees that the government will facilitate and ease the process for customs and to send back and forth and to export, to import and export hardware inside the country, right? For development purposes. This is a good thing to remember. Other important points, we will have a very new economic classification. Um, After the legal framework, video games will fall under a unique economic category will not be under software development anymore, right? So we the society understood that the video games economic area, and the video games ecosystem needs to be tackled by its own, right? Not it, to give a little example is we had a very large, and we know that Ukie and other associations throughout Europe have these conversations as well. We had a lot in terms of what video games this is technology, this is software or entertainment software, but it's still software, or is a cultural asset, right? Or it's an audiovisual, interactive audiovisual asset. It's a new media where it falls under, right? So now we have decided video games is video games, so it needs a new economic classification. It's ongoing. To regulate now the operations for video games is an ongoing conversation that we're having with the government, with the federal government, and we hope for next year that we have a new way to incorporate a company here in Brazil. More jobs and professionalization of the professions of the video game makers, right? So game designers, narrative designers, they will now be classified as a proper job for the government itself. That means that we can obviously work for to foster these jobs here in Brazil. So it's an opportunity to have more and more jobs in the video game area. Importation that I said, without barriers. We're trying to break all the barriers, or the most of them, to bring back and forth hardware for development. And tax incentives. We have not tax rebates. Is still ongoing. It's a larger conversation here in Brazil for tax rebates, but tax incentives, now we have one, which is called Lei Rouanet. So a company can use part of their of the national tax. I forgot the name in English. Sorry for that. The income tax. Sorry. So you can use part of your income tax from your company to invest in a project. So via sponsorship. So this is a very new mechanism to use for video games. but you need to be established here in Brazil to use that benefit or work with a company that established in Brazil, and other laws that we are working with the government and with the Senate and all the senators and deputies to understand that we need the basic for the industry, for the incentives, right? Um, we have a very important chapter of the protection of youth. So kids are being cared by the legal framework. Um, we have established new parameters that we are now seeing they are really innovative, even for more established ecosystems like the European ones. So this is something that we want to foster. So how to protect our kids in the digital environment and inside the gaming environment. Some are now enforced by this legal framework, and we want to give more and more good news when we work with a Brazilian development company, game development company, or if you are establishing a business in Brazil. So keep an eye on it. I know I need to open to Gustavo here, but I want just to pencil in a little new other numbers for you. So the majority of our market is are women, right? So 51%. We are talking about a 2.61 billion size market. We are talking about 100 more than 100 million players here, and our online populations is 190 million people as well. So very good market to work with. Um, the game studios are spread out Brazil. We have a concentration in the south east. This is a historical reason, and because southeast is our financial heart of the country as well. So the concentrations in the southwest, São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, especially these two states, and after Minas Gerais and Espírito Santo, which are other two states that compound the southeast, but especially São Paulo and Rio. But we have a very interesting decentralization as well. So we have the south really strong, led by Rio Grande do Sul, which is the real the last state in the bottom. Nearby Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. We have the Northeast. We have big companies that were established in the Northeast, especially in the state called Pernambuco. But we have another state that is growing, which is Ceará or Serra. Um, so Northeast is growing and growing fast, and the rest of the country, the Midwest, which includes the region where we are capital is Brasilia, and the North. So they are new areas to explore and to establish companies there. But that's the overview for 2022. Right. Our total revenue for the game industry was 251 million dollars. Right. We have increased to more than 1,000 studios in Brazil. Now 2,000 to now 100 1,000 100 studios nowadays in 2023. We know that this number is increasing a lot throughout the months actually. So people are opening video game business massively here now. We are focused on entertainment games, right? 58% of our production is entertainment. Advert games, 18%, and educational games, almost 18 as well. So other types of digital games and etc. Are marginal, but our main production is entertainment, right? We had 2,000 and more than 2,600 games released between 2020 and 2022, right? Our export program grew significantly. So Abagames, in partnership with Apex, it's our export agency from the federal government. We have a program called Brazil Games. You have seen or may seen us in all the major events throughout the world. Gamescom, GDC, and other ones. We have established our presence more than a decade ago in these events, and the companies exporting is just increasing a lot. Right, we are mainly focused on international sales, so we are the majority of our studios are prepared to work with international partners. So it makes us a very interesting place to do business, establish a company or to work with. So international sales are the majorities, almost 50%, and we have 90% of our companies established abroad. So UK is a very important destiny for our companies. So they established their branches or they're changing their headquarters to the UK. So UK is a very important player for us, especially when we are talking about expansion, right? Of our businesses. Our main markets, right? United States 58%. Latin America is the second one. It's not Europe anymore. Europe was our second market, but now Latin America is buying a lot of the Brazilian production, so 57%, and Western Europe 55%. So and Canada, so 52%. So we know that these places are very important marketplaces for our companies to work, establish, or to publish, or to sell their games. And one last number that's interesting. We develop our own IP, so 93% wants and works with IP creation. This is a very interesting number to understand when we're talking about collaborations between companies or for publishing, right? We have a very interesting scene for external development. Big companies are doing that in Brazil now. So, of course, you can hire services here. But if you want to succeed in Brazil, the IP creation may be the best path to go together, right? So, or to publish or to creating co-productions with Brazilian companies can be really worthy, right? I can, of course, I can share the report for you later. I don't just want to give space here for Gustavo to talk about Gamescom, but understand that the caveat that I mentioned is we are for the first time uh, having more projects and originals or IP originals created to PCs than mobile here from the game development ecosystem, right? So we are a mobile first country for consumers, but we are not anymore a mobile first for game developers. So we are seeing the PC scene. And when I talk PC, of course, is portable PC, if we can say that. So Steam Decks, or other PC-like devices, but they are portable, not mobile, but portable. We are counting on as a PC project. So PC is getting bigger, especially here in Latin America, and we have some reasons, and we can create some thoughts about it. PCs are cheaper than consoles here in Brazil, and if you want to have more experiences, more AAA experiences for PC, you can achieve better results than mobile, right? Because consoles cost more than anything here in Brazil as well. So you can buy a cheaper PC and have and you can do your gaming session with your AAAs or other titles better. So we understand that PC is getting a lot of margin here nowadays. So that's why also the game developers are migrating to do more PC projects, right? I will share here our QR code. So thank you so much. We have a white paper done by Nordisti, the consultancy agency in English, so you can have more and more information about the Brazilian ecosystem, how it's working, about the legal framework, more details, and of course you can have the numbers of our industry in our game industry report as well. So I will give the stage to Gustavo.
Hello, hello. Can you guys see me? Yeah, okay. So, hello to everybody. Thank you, Rodrigo. I'm Gustavo Steinberg. I'm the CEO of gamescom LATAM. As Rodrigo said, we had the first edition of gamescom LATAM this year. We are, of course, already working on next year's edition. But even though it was the first edition of the event, it was the 12th edition of Big Festival, which continues to exist inside gamescom LATAM. Big Festival was born as a B2B and indie games event. And it has expanded progressively. First, we partner with a large entertainment company here in Brazil called Omelette Company. They are the organizers of CCXP, which is the biggest Comic Con in the world that takes place in São Paulo, 280,000 people. And after that, soon after that, we partnered with Gamescom in Germany, and we brought the three together to develop Gamescom LATAM. So I wanted to present first, maybe to so that you understand what we are talking about. I want to show a video. It's always challenging to share a video here, but I'll try, and you tell me if it's working. Can you guys see the video? Okay. Can you see my screen now with the key facts? Yeah. Okay. So this year was the first edition, as I said. We had more than 100,000 visitors from 70 countries. We had 2,000 trade visitors from 66 countries. As I said, we were born as a B2B event and we continue to do that, but now we have combined the event with a B2C, a very strong B2C component. Just to give a comparison, the biggest E3 edition had an attendance of 70,000 people. So the first edition of Gamescom LATAM was already born bigger than the E3. We had 124 exhibitors and co-exhibitors from 66 countries. We had more than 700 studios and more than 200 publishers attending when we consider both the B2B and the B2C side. We have an online component too that had more than 400 million views. That's considering only our official channels, and that does not consider the partners and streamers and influencers and so on. And we had 922 games that were submitted to to Big Festival, which again continues to exist as the Independent Games Award that happens inside the event. Just a breakdown, we are still mostly men, but women are increasing. It's if you consider like up to 30 years old, it's like almost everybody in the show. At the B2B side, we had more than 1,000 companies, most of them from Brazil, but also many companies from the rest of Latin America. We have delegations coming from Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Peru, Ecuador, and so on. We had many companies from North America and Europe, and also some companies from Asia and the Middle East. Asia is increasing. We see an appetite from Asian partners to come to the next edition, so we expect this number to increase quite a lot. We are very efficient in our B2B side. Unlike the other events, we use only one matchmaking platform. So when you buy your ticket, you're already part of that matchmaking platform, which means that you can start scheduling meetings right away before you come here. And we have this area that you can see here, which is like we have more than 100 tables where the matchmaking system accommodates the meetings automatically. So you schedule a meeting for 2 in the afternoon, and the meeting system will tell you that the meeting takes place at table number 25. And then you go there and you have a 20-minute meeting. With that, we managed to accommodate 12,000 meetings requests, and we have more than $200 million in business prospects from the event. Of course, we also have lots of the key players in the market, as you can see: Nintendo, Xbox, Epic, Warner, Ubisoft, and so on. At our increasingly big B2C area. We have a lot of content. That means the way we divide the event is that during the weekdays, it's mostly B2B, and then during the weekend, it's B2C only. So the business meetings take place from Wednesday to Friday. Wednesday is B2B only day, well, B2B and press. And then Thursday and Friday are already open to the B2C audience, much like gamescom in Cologne, but with a few differences. For instance, we have more stages and more speaking sessions when you compare, because we do something that is like a combination of DevCom and GameCom at the same time. So we have the B2B speaking sessions covering pretty much everything there is to cover in the gaming landscape. And we have also the stages for B2C attractions too, including, esports stages and so on. So we have a lot of titles being released in the event, both independent and also mainstream. And we have a lot of players playing and doing everything. We have a lot of press. In terms of press coverage, we have pretty much everybody from Brazil and also Latin America, and also international partners. For instance, we have, on top of the publishers that are content partners of the show, we also have many media partners, including like our company has 2 portals, like big ones, one for geek culture, which is called Omelette, and the other one called The Enemy, which is one of the biggest games portals in the region. We partner with IGN, both Brazil and international. So we had English content being produced directly from the stage. We had interviews being streamed live also on IGN. And we have, as you can see, many different media partners, TV and portals and so on. We started this year with something that is equivalent to the opening night live. It's called Gamescom LATAM Countdown. It's for exclusive trailers and exclusive material. We started it, testing a few things. Of course, we are not Jeff Keighley, so we don't have 20 million people watching it, but we started it with 650,000 people watching it, remembering that we did it in Portuguese with simultaneous translation to English and Spanish. But the idea for next year is to do it in English and then the simultaneous translation to Portuguese and Spanish. We have lots of brands and companies participating. If you add them up, it's like 1,132 brands participating. We have mostly endemic brands, but we also have non-endemic brands like phone carriers, banks, and so on, because they actually pay for the event so that they can subsidize the participation of studios and publishers, which pay much less than the non-endemic brands. We have a lot of activities related to accessibility. So 100% of our speaking sessions are offered with sign language. We donated more than 1,000 reais to Abagames, which is an NGO that works with accessibility for games, including controllers and everything, so that people can play. We had an attendance of more than 3,500 students from public schools that went to the event for free, and that had a guided introduction to the event, showing that they can play games there, but they can also find a profession and learn how to develop games. These are just a few of our initiatives. We have many others. Well, people say good things about us. I hope you guys come too, so that you can see for yourselves that it's actually a very cool event. In terms like what I usually my pitch to publishers is that if you're not coming here, you're wasting money, because the region does not have sizable publishers. So, and we have a lot of very interesting games and studios. And in terms of selling your own games, as Rodrigo was saying, we are one of the largest markets in the world. If you consider the whole of Latin America, which is the region that we cover, it's bigger than North America. So we are talking about more than 350 million players. So it's a big chunk of the market. And I think that's pretty much it. One number that I checked, we had 25 Brits this year. This means that, you have to come, because not many people are coming here, and you're wasting a lot of opportunities. Again, what I like to point out is that we are not just a regional event. We are like a global event that takes place in this region, taking advantage of all the presence of all the studios and the players from the region. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Gustavo, and Rodrigo as well. Thank you so much to both of you. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to open the floor up to a couple of questions whilst we prepare Fernando to speak next. Would anyone, if anyone wants to pop a question in the Q&A, I mean, Gustavo, what's the sort of course of action for a UK business sort of coming along to gamescom LATAM next year? What would they need to do?
Well, the ideal way is to have a country pavilion. This year we had India, Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. For next year, we're already negotiating with all these that are renewing, plus Germany, France, possibly Italy, and it would be great to have a country pavilion. We offer some perks for country pavilions, like exemption from some fees for showing the studios and everything. It's cheaper for the studios to come, being part of a country pavilion. But if not, I mean, you can just buy a ticket, a B2B ticket, and come, or negotiate directly with us for a booth and other opportunities. It's important to say that we are probably the only event that also offers, we are always interested in content. So if you have upcoming games, we have free opportunities for those. So of course it's limited space, but we do select, via Big Festival. If you submit a game to Big Festival, the deadline is December 15th. You just submit a game to us. We'll evaluate it. If our curators like it, we'll build a kiosk and do everything for free, with a computer or a console or a mobile, and put it there for people to play it. And you'll be part of the awards of the competition, and you can get an award, even a cash award. And another way to, show your games for free is like to talk to us as the publisher, saying what upcoming games you have. And we have an area that is called Play Next, which is like kiosks for upcoming games or new releases, both PC, like mobile or console. We also have stage opportunities. You can pitch speaking session. It's also, you just go to our website, gamescom.com.br, and you submit a proposal for a speaking session. The deadline again is December 15th. We have opportunities for esports. If it's cool stuff, we have opportunities, and you don't necessarily have to pay for it. Of course, if you want like a bigger booth and a presence and everything, then we have to charge for it. And another thing that we offer is like at our B2C, our B2B side, we have turnkey booths. So we have a package that, you don't have to do anything. You just buy a booth and you walk and the booth is ready. You send the artwork. There is going to be internet. There is going to be electricity. Everything is working, and you can do the business meetings from your booth. Yeah, so there are many different ways to participate.
Fantastic.
And just to add upon it, of course, everything that you requires or want to do with the Brazilian ecosystem as well, alongside the event, in between trade associations, we can, of course, and being super glad to create opportunities inside gamescom LATAM and doing networking events on everything that we can do together as well. So if you're a member of Ukie, just poke Ukie to do it.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, we've got a question. Chris Bain. He's asking about how prevalent the English language is as a business language in Brazil, which I think is super important. So, do you want to sort of give an idea of
well, in Brazil, it's not wonderful, but in our event, everybody speaks English and everything is simultaneously translated. For instance, even the speaking sessions, 100% of them are simultaneously translated. And in the B2B area, the business area, the business meetings, everybody speaks English. So, it's
good to know.
It's like going to Cologne. You don't have to speak German, right? So.
I hope that reassures you, Chris, and everyone else.
Yeah, and talking about the Brazil itself, I mean, to do business, of course, you're gonna find different ecosystem. They have a degree of proficiency in English less than you expect, for example. But if you are doing business with a company even in an entry level, if we're hiring a service or trying to scout a game for an indie studio, these especially the small studios now have people that can definitely speaks English. If they don't speak, they will find a way to do business with you. So I think the language barrier is not nowadays not something that you need to be super worried about. You're gonna find people that speaks English inside the ecosystem. If they don't speak, they will find a way to do it. So I think it's not something you need to worry anymore.
Yeah, everything is in English. I mean,
Wonderful.
so if you want to be part of this industry, you have to speak English or Japanese.
Or Japanese.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, both of you. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and talk to our audience today. Like I said in the chat, feel free to send over those details, and I'll share them around with attendees. And we'll also sort out a recording of this further down the line. I should welcome Fernando Quintino. Fernando, are you online? You are next. There we go. Wonderful.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm here.
Hi, Fernando. Thank you so
Hi,
much
everybody.
for joining us. Wonderful.
Hi, Gustavo, Rodrigo.
Hello.
So, Fernando, do you want to sort of tell our audience a little bit about who you are and also what you're going to talk to us today?
I'm a former lawyer working in Brazil in the entertainment area. We are a 30 years old law firm that works with entertainment law and media law and third sector also, the nonprofits. I'm 53 years old. I have two sons, Felipe and Luca, and I'm married to Fabiana.
Wonderful. That's lovely to hear. So, if you have a presentation, do you
Sure.
want to sort of pop it on the screen if you're able to share your screen? So, so for the audience's benefit, Fernando is going to talk about sort of entering the Brazilian market from sort of a regulatory sort of standpoint. What regulations and sort of compliance fundamentals, what hoops do we need to jump through as a business based outside of Brazil to do business in Brazil?
Are you seeing my presentation?
We are indeed, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I will start telling about how the games are considered in Brazil for the legal framework. We are considered as an audiovisual plus software and on features. And the important thing is games are no longer seen as software in Brazil. There will have been for a long time. And here I mentioned some incentive laws that we had in Brazil and how much money they invested in the electronic games area. So you have law, an incentive law in the state of São Paulo that invests almost 2 million reais. Paulo Gustavo was a specific law for helping companies during the pandemics that invested 1.9 billion in this area. FSA is a kind of fund, of public fund that invests in audiovisual area, and the value focused for electronic games was 45.25 million reais. And we had some public notice here in Brazil, investing almost 3 million reais. This for the last year. As Rodrigo Terra told first, we have a special law that was approved in May 3rd this year, so it's a very recent legislation, determining that the manufacture, the import, the commercialization, development, and commercial use of electronic games are regulated by this law. This law approves the principles and guidelines for electronic games using in Brazil, and presents also the measures to promote the business environmental and increase the supply of capital for investment in innovative entrepreneurship. This federal law, in its fifth article, says that the interactive audiovisual work developed as a computer program in which the images are altered in real time based on the player's actions and interactions with the interface. So this is the concept for the saying what is an audiovisual work in Brazil. It considers also the central device and accessories for private or commercial use, especially dedicated to playing electronic games, and considers also the software for use as a cell phone application or web page consumed by download or streaming. So this is the concept and definition of electronic games. And the principles and the guidelines are the recognitions of innovative entrepreneurship in electronic games as a vector of economic, social, environmental, and cultural development, promoting innovative entrepreneurship and promoting the productivity and competitiveness of the Brazilian economy and generating qualified jobs. Promotion of cultural diversity and sources of information, production, and programming. Fourth, respect for fundamental rights and democratic values. The consumer protection and education and information for suppliers and consumers regarding their rights and duties. In the sixth, an area that calls special attention, that is the full protection of children and adolescents. And a seventh principles, the preservation of privacy, protection of personal data, and information self-determination. Continuing with the aspects of this legal framework, foster in its Article 7, the law provides a specific framework for professionals working in the fields of electronic games, saying that without prejudice to other professions, professionals in the field of electronic games include visual artists for games, audio artists for games, game narrative designers, game programmers, and game testers, and game producers. And as well as their professionalization, the Article 13 says that the state will support the training of human resources for the electronic games industry. This training is not established at this moment, so the way that the professionals are going on is working for private companies, for private developers, and as Rodrigo and Gustavo described, several developers along the country. And the Article 8 provides for special treatment for the promotion of electronic games. In this area, they say that considering the incomes, they say that the companies with gross revenue of up to 16 million reais in the previous year, or 1.32 million reais per month if you are working in less than 12 months, is the type of companies that can have this kind of public benefits and access the public funds. And not only for the incomes, not only for the revenues, they consider also innovative business models for generating products or service, and they consider something that they say Nova Simples, that is a business initiatives of an incremental or disruptive nature that declare themselves to be innovation companies. So this type of companies are the companies that will be able to access some kind of promotion and special treatment for the government. You see here clearly that the government wants to help the companies that are in the startups or medium companies that needs assistance and promotion. In the Article 9, this regard to the taxation of all the essential tools for the development of the electronic games. So the law says that the government will regulate customs clearance and the import taxes levied with a view to fostering innovation in the sector of companies developing electronic games. So this area will be a special area as with tax incentives and benefits from the government. And the objective is to create a more sustainable ecosystem in the electronic games area. With the legal framework law, the following provisions was added to the general intellectual property law. So here we are talking about the property law and how the products that are developed are protected by our property law. So the Article 2 says that the protection of industrial property rights, taking into account their social interest and the country's technological and economic development, shall be effected through granting registration for electronic games. So electronic games was inserted in the general intellectual property law to protect its projects. Despite being a new security for game producers and developers, there is still no established the format of this registration will take place. So the regulation of this legal framework law will say how is the way that the protection has to be done, if it's protected by a notary, and we are discussing this at this moment in Brazil. And then I bring for you some other legislations that contemplate electronic games. Rodrigo Terra has told about this. And the culture and audiovisual promotion legislation contemplates the possibility of carrying out electronic games projects with the use of tax benefits and tax waiver. So we have one federal law that is an incentive law for culture, and the games are included in this law. And here I brought the number that was invested in Rouanet law in 2023 was around 2.2 billion reais. Okay, another incentive law that can be used also for through the developers is the audiovisual law that promotes audiovisual initiatives, including electronic games. The amount invested in audiovisual law last year was around 800 million reais for audiovisual, not only for electronic games, but in total. Okay. We have other tax incentives. We have a federal decree that reduces the tax for importation. One of the tax was decreased from 20 and 50% to 16 and 40%. And we have there is a project running in our Congress to bring tax immunity for video games and consoles that are processed here in Brazil. So this is a project that is being discussing in our government, in our Congress, and we will probably soon have this tax immunity approved. And here I bring some overview from the industry of gamings. Here, I think the numbers that you'd like to see is that the favorite platform nowadays are the smartphones that represent 47.4% of our users. We have the consoles with 19.1%, computer with 12.7%, laptop with and others and tablet with a lower number. Here is something interesting also, the time that people spend in game. We have people use 23.2% of people using spending time 4 hours to 6 hours. We have 22% spending less than 2 hours. We have an expressive number of 15.8 spending between 6 and 8 hours per day, you know, and 19.5 is spending between 4 to 6 hours. Here is a comparison between how women and men are using are playing. No, we have a larger number for men's, around 56%, and you have 42% for women. And here is also a comparison how women and men are using, are playing in South America. In Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru. Here is an overview considering Brazilian industry comparing to other countries and regions. And you have in Latin America, the market share is around 11%, comparing to Asia, that is the greatest, with 53%. North America with 7%, and Europe with 13%, and Middle East and Africa with 16%. Here we have also a share of players and viewers. 12% sports enthusiasts, 27% sports audience, total viewers 55%, and total players 77%. And we have an expressive number of 52% of people playing and viewing. Okay, that's all. If someone has any question.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Fernando. Really appreciate it. Victor, thank you so much, and Damien as well. Appreciate it. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and sort of talk through what it is that you're going to be talking about today?
Yes, sure. First of all, thank you guys for having us here today. It's a pleasure for us to talk a little bit more about the games in Brazil, especially from the PR perspective. Well, I'm Victor. I'm partner and head of PR at Drone, which is an agency we've been in the market for more than 30 years already. We work with some companies that you might know, such as Ubisoft and Razer, Team Liquid, Abagames, of course, and others. Well, and I will let Damien introduce herself while I open the presentation here for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Victor. So, thank you for having us. So Victor and I are here to talk about PR in Brazil. So I'm the founder and CEO of HomeRun PR. For those who don't know me or our agency, we're based out of New York, and we're pretty established. We've been in business for more than 10 years, and we worked with many studios and developers such as the Microids, SMK, Dontnod, Astragon, Nacon, just to name a few. And we're also the agency of record for Abagames, which is the equivalent of Ukie in Brazil. So we've been working with them for a couple of years now. So I'll be just kind of like tagging along here with Victor to give you guys my experience in working with PR agencies in Brazil, as an international person, and also to to share kind of like the best practices and the things that we've noticed kind of like made a difference for us, from a European Western country kind of like side, and give you also some perspective on some of the work we've done internationally for Abagames. So our role is to help and support Abagames with international media. But without further ado, I'll let Victor. Victor, do you want to go and present the agenda? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right.
Can you see me?
All right. So yeah. So I'll just give you guys an overview of the agenda, and then we'll dive into each slide a little later. So we're gonna start with a better understanding, giving you a better understanding of the PR and marketing landscape specifically in Brazil. And so Victor is really expert in that. And then we'll dive into more of a kind of dive deeper into the specifics of the local press and the media dynamics for an agency that's based in Brazil, and kind of like some of the best practices, which kind of leads me into the third slide, which is going to be what we consider some of the best tips for partnering with local agencies, and then we'll present to you guys some of our campaigns, some of the most successful campaigns we've done in those markets, and wrap it up with a Q&A session.
Great, Damien, thank you. So I would just minimize my I'm sorry, my side screen here, just to see everything. Okay, so yes, as Damien said, we're going to start with an overview of the PR perspective here in Brazil. Of course, we're focused on the gaming area mainly. Here at Drone, we work with other markets, but gaming has been a very important part of our work here. We have the office here in São Paulo, but we also have another one in Mexico. So I will share a little bit of our experience working with the Brazilian press, but also with the Latin America press. And you guys feel free to ask anything you need at the end of the presentation. But of course, if you need to interrupt us for any reason, we are here for replying you guys. So basically, talking about Brazil, you have seen in the previous presentations that Brazil has a very diverse market here. We're talking about more than 100 million gamers according to Nuuvem, and of course, based on it, we can figure that Brazil has this strong gaming culture. It's something that's getting bigger actually year over year, and the forecast for the next few years is very positive here in Brazil, especially with mobile games and more accessibility to the gamers here in Brazil in terms of technologies. Nowadays, it's more easy to people to get games and to play. And Brazilian people is very passionate about the games, so we're witnessing a very good moment of the industry here in Brazil. You were talking about some gamers with unique consumer behavior. We'll see more about this in the next few slides, but we can say that here in Brazil, people really love to get in contact with their idols from the internet, so especially creators. We have a very prominent role in the industry here. They took people here in Brazil, they take very seriously what people say in the internet, and not only the creators, but also the press still have this very important role, not only for disseminating news, but also for building reputation for the companies and to achieve new audience, and of course, bringing credibility to the announcements we do here in Brazil. And also during this process, we have some challenges, of course, especially for companies that comes from abroad. we're talking to people from UK, for example, here, and of course, when we're planning to come to Brazil, which has a very good potential, maybe you get a little bit uncertain about what you're going to find here, and you have this language barrier. And we just saw in a previous presentation that you have this local laws that are very particular and cultural ones that makes all difference for succeed here in Brazil. So during this presentation, we're going to bring some tips for you guys on how we can manage this kind of difficulties here in Brazil, or challenges, and how to perform very well, especially talking about the importance of local knowledge on this process. So it's essential for tailored messaging and effective media relations results, as we will see. Oh, sorry, Damien, do you want to complete anything?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of share, our experience, like, in terms of cultural differences. So, for me being, a French American, so I have both, European and American culture rooted inside of me. So, dealing with the teams, the various teams, whether it's at Abagames or, with Gamescom LATAM or their PR agencies, what we've, and specifically, using some PR tools and some of the tactics and the techniques that we used to, in Western countries, I thought there was like some kind of like, slight differences. And for example, when we were talking about press kit, which is kind of like a tool that is very, widely used, for a lot of people, we felt like there was sometimes some differences where, the content may be different, or the format of a press kit may be different in Brazil. Same thing with like press releases, within like, when we're talking about the format of a press release, the way we do it in the US or in the UK was a, boilerplate and like a header and, the different, paragraph and subparagraphs in the quotes. So might sometimes be different also in Brazil. Same thing with like the timing for distribution of a press release. There might not always be time for placing an embargo or for preceding an announcement. So the key takeaway for us was like we needed to be very reactive all the time, and it's a very dynamic market, and whenever you're going to deal with PR in Brazil, you need to be hyper reactive and extremely present, and make sure you'll be able to be available at any time for any kind of last minute things that are going to happen.
Yes, that's so true, Damien. Thanks. Talking more about the Brazilian media landscape, we can say that nowadays Brazil has this mixture of traditional media and strong digital presence, as I said before. Here in Brazil, we're talking about 700 outlets on average that talks about games in a certain way. Here I'm talking only about like blogs, websites, newspaper with gaming sections, magazines, TVs, radios. I'm not considering the content creators, which is big here in Brazil as well. So, for example, we recently did this event with a huge, massive presence of creators here in Brazil, and it got more than 6,000 requests for accreditation for the show. And we only accredited people who had more than 100,000 subscribers, and then the number of accredited was over 3,000 people. So we got this huge content creator landscape here in Brazil that combines very well with the media landscapes, especially for companies that want to arrive here in Brazil. So regarding the players, we have this national outlet. Brazil is well, I will give some context, but Brazil speaks Portuguese here. We speak Portuguese, and we're surrounded by other countries that speak Spanish. So at the same time that we're talking about LATAM, we're talking about totally different countries and different cultures, and this is very important to be considered when we're approaching the regional press. Just like Damien said, Brazilian press works in a very particular way, and you have to consider it when we're trying to relation with them in a good way. And of course, if you follow a few tips, we'll perform better, and that's what we want to share with you guys today. So we do have this national outlet that talks to the whole country, but the country is huge, and of course we have also some regional press that work very well, and certain type of campaigns that are more focused on a specific part of the country or a specific type of games. Of course, we do have a lot of gaming-oriented websites and influencers that talk specifically about games, but we do have a good, how can I say, a good interest of journalists from other markets on games, especially, and at this moment that we can see gaming performing very well here in the region. So talking about the content, we have like many possibilities of how to reach out these journalists and these media. And of course, there are different ways to do this. We do work with hard news and press release in a more standard way, but we also have a lot of journalists that are interested on local success stories and how does it impact the community here, and how does it bring innovation, especially when you have information related to the country. For example, if you do have a gaming that we're releasing here in Brazil, and then you have a specific character, for example, that's a Brazilian, this is something that Brazilian people appreciate a lot, especially journalists. This is a good way to you guys to make this first contact with Brazilian people and journalists, bring in content that they understand, or they figures something very close to them, and Brazilian people really value companies that do care about them, and they're like not here only for making money, but here for being a kind of partner of the community in general, like listening to them and bringing some amendments on like their products that might turn the experience better every day. Of course, another thing that is very important in PR, not only in Brazil, but everywhere, is the relationship with the opinion formers. Here in Brazil, I used to say that half of our job here is to build relationship with them, because it opens a lot of doors for us here in Brazil. When we do have good relationship with journalists and content creators, it makes the whole process easier, and it will bring a better coverage for you by the end of the day. Damien, do you want to compliment?
Yeah, no, I had a few questions, Victor, on this slide. So you know, you were talking about content creators in Brazil. So in the Western countries, you know, we have you know, our YouTubers and our Twitchers, like streamers and content creators on the YouTube platforms. Like, is there would you say that in Brazil maybe like is YouTube more important than you know than Twitch, for example? And then on social media, are people more like, I know there was something with Twitter like recently where you know it was banned from the country, and I'd love to hear how you guys kind of you know reacted to this, and are there specific like media, you know, social media platforms that are, you know, that you would recommend to use more than others? Can you digress on this a little bit?
Sure, of course. Well, first of all, Brazilians are very digital, I can say. Like they are. I just saw an example of the topic here, but I just saw an example of a post that was made by the Academy about the Oscars, and they've been publishing many pictures of actors and actresses that are performing very well in the last few months. And we had this Brazilian actress called Fernando Torres. So if you guys go there on their profile on Instagram, you're gonna see that there is an average of likes on the posts of like 15,000. And when we get to this Brazilian actress post, it has almost 1 million likes already and thousands of comments. So it, in a certain way, reflects how people in Brazil are into the social media and social platforms in general. You mentioned YouTube and Twitter and Twitch, and I mentioned Instagram. I would say that those are the most important platforms, online platforms here in Brazil, especially for gaming community. Everything here was built over on the YouTube experience like a few years ago, and then it became very popular on Twitch because of the streaming, which is Twitch nowadays is the most popular platform for streaming here in Brazil. But we're still very strong on YouTube, especially for VOD and other kind of contents. And in social media, we had this experience with Twitter, which was like blocked in Brazil for a few days, and people got crazy without Twitter for communicating the whole day. But yeah, it's been challenging for the company that works here. A couple of weeks that it was off, and they try to use other kind of social platforms such as I forgot again the name.
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky, thanks. Blue Sky, but it didn't perform the same. But a few days later, Twitter got back, and then nowadays everything is okay here in Brazil, like in terms of social media. And Instagram is very important as well for games. People in Brazil likes a lot sharing their lives on the internet, and all these platforms that you mentioned are the most important ones for doing here in Brazil. So if I would like give you guys a tip for which platforms you should like go first, I would say those. Okay, so now we're gonna talk. Oh, I'm sorry. Now we're gonna talk about how to work with local PR agencies in Brazil, which is very important, especially because of everything that I just said on like knowing very well the profile of people here in Brazil, the gamers. So finding the right partner is very important to you guys to get good results here in Brazil. I would say that you should look for agencies who have like strong relationship with the press, the local, but also the endemic one. So we do have like many sections for kind of editorial content to work, but if you're planning to work on games, of course you need more than only the gaming outlets, but I would say that you should like look for someone who understand very well the gaming market here in Brazil. So local expertise and gaming industry knowledge and strong media contacts are keys for a good experience with PR here in Brazil. And leveraging local experience will allow with local agencies will help you guys to guide you with strategies that make sense for the Brazilian community, Brazilian press, particularly around messaging and timing. Just like Damien said, we here in Brazil sometimes the things happen very quickly, not something that happens and you have to perform over it like in a couple of days. So of course we do plan everything for getting better results, but we have to consider that Brazilian people in general, they do like to do things like at the last minute, and some including journalists. So sometimes we approach journalists with good advance in terms of days, and they don't want to listen to us at this point because they're doing another thing that for them is urgent right now. And so you have to understand in their timing for approaching the right moment and then get the results that we need. And it's also very important to establish the goals now, right? So what success looks like for you guys in terms of presence with the press, and then align this with your local partner for understanding how you can do. Sometimes the way that works in other countries is not the way that works here. I'm not talking only about strategies, but also talking about the structure of the press releases and the way that you do the outreach and the proceedings or sending products for the journalists for testing. Everything has its particularity, and it's not only because it's Brazil, but because when we work with Argentinian journalists or Mexican or Peruvian or from any other countries in the region, we understand that the local culture makes a difference on everything that you do at the country. So understanding very well the targets that you have is very important for getting to succeed in the region. And of course, we're talking about communication, right? Communication is key. So this collaboration and maintaining open communication with the media and with your local partners is very important for succeed. Damien, you want to implement something?
Yeah, thank you, Victor. I'd like to add a few things here. Sorry, I didn't cut you off, Victor, did I?
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So yeah, so choosing, I think, facing with the let's say you guys want to, you want to launch a product in Brazil, or you decided that you need some help on the communication, level. So you need to choose your agencies. There's a couple of them that specialize in video game, and some of them are do have also reach to more consumer media, as well as the specialized media. Drone is one of them. They're doing a really good job for Abagames. But I think what's important is, and we talked about the language barrier here. So most people speak in English, but it's important to have an agency that's going to communicate with you in English, so they can localize and translate all of your key messages, all your assets, and all the communication elements, in Portuguese, of course, but also have a reach in the rest of LATAM. So not just kind of like a local Brazilian agency, but more of a kind of LATAM, agency that will also service you in Spanish in the other countries of that region. And then, one of the things that we've noticed also is, during your communication with the agency, so when we were communicating with our clients, so there's Abagames again, or Gamescom LATAM, or some of the agencies that represent them in Brazil, sometimes with the team, we might have some miscommunication while we're talking, and those are like cultural differences and just kind of like a misinterpretation of some of the things. So we kind of needed to hop on the phone and get on a call to have like more of a to kind of like streamline some of the information and confirm some of the facts or other communication that was shared amongst a group. So that happened, several instances. So it's always kind of like old school, like on the phone, talking to people can always kind of help a lot, even in today's digital age. And then the time differences, time zone, and I'm sure some of you work with other time zones, whether it's in Asia or in the US based, when we're in Europe. But with Brazil, it's kind of like can be a little more cumbersome. So don't forget that you might have to schedule your meetings outside of your working hours, but also make yourself available outside of your working hours to deal with some kind of emergencies or kind of last minute things that may happen. And then lastly, I don't know how many of you guys use WhatsApp, but in Brazil, I think WhatsApp is a tool that for direct communication is used widely. So if you're not using WhatsApp, I highly, and you would like to, you're intending to do business in Brazil and work with some agencies or journalists over there, I highly recommend that you start using WhatsApp.
That's so true. everybody here in Brazil uses WhatsApp. I don't know anyone who doesn't. Yeah, so talking about the results we selected 2 case studies for presenting to you guys. We chose different ones for giving you guys different views about it. So basically, I'm going to talk about the 6th Invitational 2024, which is one of the is the most important tournament in Rainbow Six Siege scenario here in Brazil. We hold this event in a venue here in São Paulo this year, and it was a huge success. I will talk about it in a few minutes, and then Damien will talk about his experience during the whole year with gamescom LATAM, like bringing journalists to cover the event here, and how HomeRun PR played a key role on this incredible results that they got. So starting with the Rainbow Six Siege event. So basically we're talking here about 1 month of work with the press. Basically during 3 days, São Paulo hold this event at Ginásio do Ibirapuera, which is a very important venue for sports here in the country. And we got, luckily, a Brazilian final. Brazil performs very well in Rainbow Six Siege scenario. And then we had this whole gymnasio, like full of people every day. And we got this massive coverage of the press, not only during the show, during the event, but pre-show as well. So we welcomed more than 60 journalists from Brazil, and received journalists from all over the world as well here. And we only didn't get more because we had a limit of journalists presenting the show, but we highlight a few of the results we had. Like, for example, we got Forbes, we got like Global, which is the main TV here in Brazil. TV is still very important for Brazilian companies. Still, I know in some other countries, TV has not like the same relevance that it had before, and we can say that it happens in Brazil as well, but it still have a prominent role on the media landscape here in Brazil. And then we could like bring to the show some outlets that you might know from other international landscapes, such as CNN, ESPN, Forbes, Fast Company, and others. It resulted in more than 540 articles during this month, and a media value of almost $1 million, reaching out more than 850 million people. Of course, this is the estimated impact based on the unique visitors of the outlets monthly, but it's a parameter for giving you guys the idea of how many people were impacted by this specific event. And Damien, to share.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Great campaign. Kind of highlights the importance of esports in Brazil, and you know how some companies like Ubisoft are investing in that market. So let me talk to you guys about our gamescom LATAM 2024 campaign. So as I said earlier, we are the agency for Abagames, who's kind of like an institutional entity which promotes the Brazilian video game industry and organize it locally, but also internationally. So part of one of our mission with Abagames was to work with Gamescom LATAM, with the Gamescom LATAM team, and leverage the event on an international level. So we worked with the team at Gamescom LATAM and all their respective agencies, local agencies, to create a comprehensive campaign, which lasted about 6 months, right? So just to put some perspective into this, so HomeRun PR is basically the agency for Abagames for international markets, for English-speaking markets. So this was the first edition for Gamescom LATAM, so it was important to position it the right way. And Gamescom LATAM is actually a partnership with both another event that has existed for more than 10 years called Big Festival and Gamescom. So they kind of did a joint venture to create Gamescom LATAM. So with the team, we identified kind of 3 objectives, right? The first one was to establish Gamescom LATAM as and its first edition as the leading gaming event in the Americas. Now that E3 is gone, so it was an opportunity for Gamescom LATAM to kind of hone in on this lack of event in the continent and kind of take over. The second objective was to strengthen the Brazilian thought leadership in Latin America, but from an international perspective. And finally, we were tasked with increasing the visibility and awareness for any types of business opportunities within the Brazilian market, but for on an international level for international companies. So how did we achieve these objectives? And you can see the results in the slide here were pretty outstanding, with more than 3,000 articles and a reach of more than 3 trillion media impression. So how did we achieve those objectives? And I think for us it was important to distinguish 2 different media targets. So we had the video game trade media on an international level, and also the more like consumer specialized media. So that's what we did. We basically tailored 2 different campaigns to target the trade media and then the consumer media. So in order to expand the reach to the event on the consumer level, we helped solidify a partnership with IGN, which translated into a live coverage. So they were streaming the event live, which actually was also translated in both languages. And because the staff, we had the crew from the same crew that live streaming Gamescom in Germany came to Brazil and Sao Paulo, and so everything was translated because they were basically conducting everything in English. So everything was like translated live during the live stream, and it was broadcast on all the IGN platforms during the entire event. And this resulted in a huge amount of impressions and prime placement, on the biggest consumer video game platform in the world. So in parallel, we also we invited a group of select journalists from the UK and the US, and then we gave them unprecedented, access to content. With exclusives opportunity for first hands-on impressions. So we give them access to play games that have never been played before. Some reveals. So some games were also at Gamescom LATAM. New games were announced and revealed for the first time. Behind the scenes, and like incredible interviews with some like talents from various publishers and developers, but also from the team at Abagames and Gamescom, and also with some government officials. So all this kind of like helped us achieve the results that we had, and the impact from an international standpoint was overwhelming. For example, GamesIndustry.biz published an entire series of articles that were basically labeled as the Brazil Games Week. So an entire editorial feature, a whole week-long coverage under the umbrella of Brazil Games Week on GamesIndustry.biz. And then consequently, and through the rest of our efforts, multiple articles were also published in media outlets such as Rancho Beat, and just to name a few, but the list is really long, but VentureBeat, games developer, Pocket Gamer Dubbies for the trade magazines. And on the consumer side, VG247, Game Rant, The Sun in the UK, Sports Illustrated, Forbes, Screen Rant, Deserto, The Verge, PC Gamer, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I think, you know, this really shows that the accomplishment for this campaign is a testimony, and definitely for international companies, a platform for accessing not only the local press, you know, but also some key, you know, international video game outlets. And I'll just wrap it up by highlighting some of the, you know, one of the key pieces of the event was the big festival, which is kind of like their award ceremony. And so all the journalists were invited, all the international journalists were invited. We also set out information on the embargo about the festival. And I think that's kind of also helped achieve some of the results, and all the nominations and the winner, you know, were kind of listed on some of the main and key, you know, video game outlets internationally. So I think, Victor, now we can open up to any questions, if there are any questions.
Yes, sure. If there is any, please go ahead. Well, I'm gonna skip to the next slide, and then if any question comes up, I will stop for replying. Okay. Yes. Okay, so regarding resources and tools that we use for working here in Brazil, of course, we do have our mailing lists, our media lists, which we work with some tools that help us out. But I would say that this is something that I've heard from one of my teachers at the university, and I think it's very real and important to say that as a first step, when you're looking for a partner working with the media, is to understand if they do have their own like list of contacts or how they manage it, because building its own mailing list reflects in a certain way how close you are from the contacts you have, right? Because nowadays we can find some tools that will provide you a list of contacts and their names, maybe emails or telephones. But if you're trying to reach out to someone that you have never talked to before, it will probably be hard for getting the results you expect. And then this is something that I value a lot here, Drone, that I'm always pushing the team for keep doing, is to talk and to get the media list like up to date, and not only with their data but with some conversation. It's very important here, and of course we do have our support from platforms and tools that provide some context that we don't talk every day, but it's very important to understand if your partners do talk to the press daily and how close they are from the opinion formers in Brazil. It's important to say that people here in Brazil, they used to be like very warm people. They like to talk. They like being at events. They like to participate of relationship encounters, or this kind of action that will put both parts close to each other in a certain way. And it's very important to consider in the strategy here and PR strategy here in Brazil. We also do work with some PR tools for spreading out the news or the press release we produce here, and track the media coverage, of course, the clipping tools, the mailing tools, the database tools. We do have this here in Brazil. I believe just like you guys have in other part of the world. For example, sometimes we see some companies that wants to get closer to Brazilian people using PR Newswire, this kind of tools for getting closer to the community here, the audience. but I would say that it doesn't works very well as a prior tool in a strategy. So you can use it for complementing, but I wouldn't use it as your only shot. You know, journalists here in Brazil, they don't use to get information from there, or there are some outlets that do use it for publishing, but it goes to a specific part of the website that's not very relevant for final audience. So consider that tools are important, but not everything. The most important one, the most important thing for you guys is to have someone who has this strong relation with the media here and know them like personally, and will like be listened when they need to be. And so, of course, localizing content is very important. Consider we don't talk about like translating press release. We talk more about localizing because, as Damien said, there are differences, cultural difference, and even Brazil being a very open country in terms of culture, it's important to understand the way that they are used to work with information or with journalism in general. So yeah, work with local creatives and culturally relevant content. It's very important for us. Just like contents, you know, we say in Portuguese that we have this like big industry here, but at the same time it's small because people know each other. The gaming industry is huge, but the companies, we know the companies, you know, we meet people all the time in events, this kind of thing. So being a bridge for the companies is another important part of the PR perspective and work here in Brazil. So industry contacts is for partnerships and collaboration is something that working with a local partner that has good relationship, we will provide you this kind of result as well. Damien, you wanna compliment? You wanna add something?
No. I mean, I agree with you. This is very interesting. No, I mean, I think it's pretty much the same tools and same kind of structure for campaigns overseas as well. But you know, the cultural element here it makes it very different. But yeah, thanks for sharing those insights, Victor.
Sure. Well, so talking about conclusions here, and some key takeaways, we can say that effective communication and clear goals are essential when working with local PR and media agencies, as well as tailoring the strategy to each market to ensure relevance and maximize impact. So basically what we just talked about, like how you guys will adapt yourselves in a certain way to the audience that you want to impact. And of course, local expertise is invaluable, valuable in navigating both Brazilian and international markets. Here, you guys have different perspectives, like from me and Damien, like, because at the same time, I do work with the local press and he works with a local experience, like sharing international markets, and it's the ideal scenario, I think, for anyone who wants to like release product or internationally, because you do have a local partner and another partner that you can promote your products considering the cultural nuances of different partners all around the world, understanding your needs and everything that you're planning to achieve. And by the end, I would say that building relationship with press and influencers is it will lead you to more effective campaigns. It's a very important half of the way, I would say. So Damien, if you want to add something, then we can go to the Q&A sections if you guys have any questions. So, Damien?
Yeah, so I guess there's no questions.
I'm sorry.
But no, I don't. No, I mean, I already asked my questions earlier, Victor.
No, I mean, if you want to complement anything from the last.
But no, I mean, yeah, I'll just wrap it up. I just wanted to thank Ukie for the opportunity for us to to share a little bit of our knowledge and insights on the market. And my contact information is there if you guys want to reach out.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. It's very insightful. We'll keep those. We'll pop those details in a little follow-up email that I'll send out as soon as possible. And obviously we can make them live on the video when it's uploaded. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. If any other questions sort of come through, filter through, please feel free to stick around. We have we've got Julia Martins here. Let me just promote you to a panelist. So Julia's going to talk about the Brazilian games industry, working with from the perspective of working with local distributors and retailers. So Julia, I think I need to make you a co-host, and then you should be able to talk and put your camera on and everything.
1 second. I think now everything is set up.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much, Julia. I appreciate it.
Yes.
If you've got a
me.
presentation, you can share the screen at the bottom there. But
Yeah.
would you?
I do. Let me just 1 second. Usually work with Google Meet, so I'm having just let me find how can I share my presentation here. 1 second.
There should be like a little green share screen button at the bottom of the screen. Be right at the bottom.
Oh, here. Perfect.
There we go. Yes, fantastic. Thank you,
Awesome.
Julia. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, perfect. So, well, guys, it's a pleasure meeting you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Julia. I'm from Nuuvem. I've been working with marketing and business for about 12 years at the moment. I actually have a background working in major sport events. I work for the IOC, CONMEBOL, FIFA, but I always loved games. So I made a change and entered the gaming market about 4 years ago. And now I'm working for Nuuvem. And a brief introduction of the company. Nuuvem has 13 years of age. We are the leading gaming platform that is dedicated to Latin America, and we specialize in direct-to-consumer digital content delivery. So we sell games in the digital method. We specialize in AAA high-end games, but also high-quality indie titles that resonates with our player base. And we are really platform agnostic in the sense that we work with consoles, mobile, PC games, and we try to diminish the gap between gaming and the Brazilian market. So I know that we already saw a lot of the context for Latin American market and Brazil, so I'll try to be brief here. But just to give you a quick roundup of Latin America and Brazil. So LATAM has is 6 times smaller than US market, but this is in revenue, but it's twice as big in audience, with Brazil leading this audience. Here are some data from Brazil gaming market. We have over 2.6 billion in gaming revenue. And we have a lot of democratization in the last years of the access of internet, but also access to smartphones and PCs to let people be able to play in the region. And this increases the internet penetration also. In Brazil, at the moment, we have around 90% of the online population, sorry. And this also risen the esports and gaming community here in Brazil, especially in younger audience. And also, a quick introduction of the Brazilian gamer profile. I know that we will have more information on the presentation after mine, so I'll try to be brief. Here are some of the data that we have on Brazilian gamer profile, but the thing that I wanted to highlight is that 62% of Brazilians prefer to wait for discounts before buying a game. And this is an issue, and we have some challenges here in Brazil. And one of them that leads to people waiting for buying game is that we have a really high price for consumers. And we do have that because we have a devaluation of the national currency. Our taxes are really high. It makes it difficult to sell consoles, games, and this kind of leads to piracy. And this is a huge challenge. And this actually makes other challenges because of our devaluation of national currency, because this leads to digital fraud. A lot of people want to play games and a lot of people don't have as much as income. So since digital games are really easy to sell, to resell, it makes a direct target. It makes it really challenging to sell keys, for example, in other platforms. Other challenge that also it's derivative from the high prices for the consumers is that user acquisition costs are high, and we have low conversions. Because if you think about the price of a game here in Brazil, it's usually half of the price that you have on US dollars, for example. So selling the same amount in Brazil usually has a lower impact than selling this on other country, for example. But leaving this country not included, it also leaves a huge percentage of the public on the table, right? So this is an issue that it needs to be tackled as well. And other thing is the absence of local payments. Since we have lower power of purchase, we also need more payment facilities to give players the ability to purchase, to access games. So not only having the right pricing, but also having, for example, installments or some kind of financing. A lot of people here don't have international credit cards, and a lot of platforms, for example, Steam or Nintendo eShop, only offers payments in international credit cards or credit cards. And we need to have more options to make Brazilians be able to purchase and play games. And leaving a little bit the price, we also have a huge country with a lot of different cultures, different people. So we need to have more different strategies inside Brazil to really target some of the players. And the language barrier is really huge. Only 5% of the Brazilian population speaks English, and actually only 1% of the population is fluent in English. So a lot of barriers, a lot of challenges to selling games here in Latin America. And we, Nuuvem, we are trying as retailers, as distributors, to really help with solutions to mitigate these challenges that we face here in LATAM and in Brazil as well. So we do virtual content delivery because we have a huge country with a lot of differences. and not everyone has access to local stores. So having a digital platform really helps increase this democratization of the games. Also, having a lot of platforms, different platforms in our store helps the person buy for different consoles, different types of games in one same place, in only one place. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is regional payment. This is a huge issue here in Brazil. For example, if you convert the minimum wage in reais to dollars, it's around $250. So for someone to purchase a AAA game, uh, they will expend 20 to 30% of their salary if they receive minimum wage. If someone wants to buy a PS5, for example, it's 3 months of work that this person needs to gather to just to buy the consoles without any games. So we have a lower power of purchase, so we need more options. As I say, we need to facilitate to the end customer, but we need also to help with pricing, to have regional prices to help the player to have to fulfill his desire to play the new game, to play the new AAA, or to play the new indie game, the indie title that he wants to play on day one and not wait for the discount, right? So having these facilitations, for example, having installments without having the interest for the end customer is something that Nuuvem offers. We try to offer as well other types of payments, digital wallets, cryptocurrency, and cash-based payments like Pix that is super popular in Brazil at the moment. So we want to facilitate the access of games to all Brazilian population. Other measure that we do is security and anti-fraud, because we know this is an issue. We know gray market is a really high concern for a lot of publishers. Since our price is lower than USD, for example, a lot of people target Brazil and other Latin American countries as a gray market place to, well, purchase games and resell in other regions. So usually we work with region locked keys. We work only with sellers with high technology to prevent frauds. On our page, on our site, we have flexibility to work with direct entitlement. For example, we are connected with Epic Games through API connection. So you don't need to activate a key, you just purchase the game and the game is delivered to your account on Epic. We do offer a lot of protections, for example, over 1,000 VPN proxies, temporary mails, blockers. We offer geo-IP protections per country, tax ID verification. So we try to mitigate what we can to prevent fraud here in Brazil and in Latin America. And we do a lot of localized campaigns because we have our own promotional calendar. Like in every country, everyone has their specific dates, holidays where users expect to have promotions and discounts. So usually we try to follow this and not follow, for example, Steam's or other platform discount to help Brazilian players know how and when they can purchase. And just the one more thing is the influencer strategy. We know that Brazil has a lot of digital community, a lot of younger gamers as well. So Nuuvem has its own network of influencers, but having a strategy that connects the game with influencers is super, super important to really have the reach and awareness in Brazil to really engage with the community. So that's why we, as a company, have our own network of influencers with more than 300 to help not only Nuuvem brand, but the publisher brand, the developer brand, to engage in more organic way with the Brazilian players. And I want to stop just a little bit to see if we have any questions. Perfect. So I will follow. And we do have some strategies to perform well in the region that I wanted to pass to our partner publishers and developers. So the first things first, research the market. Research Brazil, see what is the consumer behavior, see if the game that you want to publish here will perform well, because every country has its specific its preferences. So sometimes the game will perform really well, I don't know, in Europe, but a high strategy like a 4X strategy game won't perform well in Brazil. So maybe it's not the best investment of your time and your efforts. But if you have, for example, a high quality football theme game, it will perform probably with the right work, will perform really well in the region. So it makes sense to do this investment and to take the time to look for the right partner. That is the second topic that I wanted to tell is regional partners is really key to launching games in emerging markets like Brazil, because regional partners, they have the local expertise, they can do this strategic planning. We do a lot of strategic planning for our partners when they are going to launch a game, or when they want to increase the conversion of their back catalog as well. Since the regional partner is usually located in the region, they already know all the regulatory laws and data protection regulations in industry standards, so it can mitigate the risks of doing some kind of promotion activity or some kind of other launch here in the region. And they can do a more efficient market with less investment on the publisher and the developer side. And one thing that is really important is also to evaluate the fit of the partner, because not every regional partner will align with your game's audience. For example, if you have a mobile game, closing with a partner that only works with console will not be the best. So having to research the partner and see what are their strengths, it's really key to also performing well in the region. Plan in advance. Contact the partner at least 3 months before the launch for a strategic preparation, to align with marketing, to do everything that you need to really have a good marketing plan for launching the game. And clear communication. Both partners, the reseller Nuuvem, for example, and the publisher, needs to have expectations, the goals, to know the responsibilities, to have everything clear out before starting the partnership. So having a partnership is really important, but these steps need to be met to really maximize the potential of the partnership. The other point is regional marketing strategy. Well, I think it's really simple, but having the right marketing strategy for the region is really relevant. Having the game, I would talk more about localizing the game, but it fosters a stronger connection with the players. You can unlock market-specific opportunities, for example, a sale, a holiday, something that is happening in the country at the moment, and you can get more possibilities, more opportunities. You can make also connections with local brands, local influencers, local games that can help boost your engagement in the region as well. And one thing that is really important to do this right is localizing the game. not only because it will have more of a connection with the players, since only 5% of the players speaks in English, but also will expand the visibility of the game in social media platforms, but also on the stores, the retailers, but also on Steam, on Epic, on other platforms. And it creates more influencer friendly content, because in the end of the day, the influencers, the streamers, they want to have more engagement on their platform. So if the game is all in English, they won't be able to have as much people watching, engaging with the Twitch stream, for example, than a Portuguese localized game. So having these also increase the engagement for the influencers, that it's a key strategy in the market. And last but not least, it's localized prices. It's super important. It needs to reflect the power of purchase of the count of the region, not only a direct conversion. Also, it needs to enhance the value perception, because here, since we have less disposable income, people need to make really think about what game they will purchase. They have less income to purchase a lot of games, so we need to think and to see the value of this game. So having all of this that I said, marketing research, the content localized, a good fit for the game, and also having the right price. This is the best strategy to having a success game here in the region in Brazil. Just 1 second. Sorry, I saw a notification, but it was not from here. So sorry. And I actually brought some success cases to share with you of some publishers that work with Nuuvem across the globe. So Phobia, it's a Brazilian developer that has an international publisher, and we did a lot of marketing initiatives to really boost the engagement of the game. Nuuvem did a lot of marketing investments from our side. This is something that we can do for the game to boost awareness. We distributed a lot of keys to influencers, and in consequence, the game was top seller on Steam for 12 consecutive hours. We can say that we sold approximately 30% of the game's total LATAM sales, and we saw a lot of our content emphasizing the marketing activities, the reach of the game in the region. And this is something that we can also help you with more reach, more engagement, and not only on our platform, but this reflects also on the region. So Bagdex is also a really cool case, because this is a game that Nuuvem publish here in actually we publish globally, but it's a really Brazilian regional game, and it's a Pokemon inspired game with some farming mechanics. But the thing that is most interesting in the game is that it's had a lot of Brazilian folklore, but also pop culture inside the game. So we use that to capitalize and to reach more people. We mobilize more than 100 partners, not only influencers, but PR. We did a crowdfunding campaign on our own page. We didn't use Kickstarter, for example. We did everything on Nuuvem own store. And this is our some of the results. We also brought the game to Brazil Game Show, the biggest gaming event in Brazil, one of the biggest in the world. We did a booth there where we brought not only Bagdex, but also Games and other partners that worked with us. For example, we had not only Games, but Hooded Horse, 11-bit, and other players there with us on our booth. I also wanted to highlight a little bit of our partnership with Nintendo. As you may know, Nintendo closed the regional operations in Brazil in 2015, but in 2021 they decided to come back to Brazil, and we've been their partners, regional partners here in Latin America, in Brazil and in Mexico for a long time, for 3 years. And we do a lot of co-investments with them. We are at the moment the top 1 digital sales for Nintendo first party in Brazil because of these investments in marketing, our activities, everything that we do with their regional marketing team to really help them increase their reach, increase their engagement, and also provide them with more payment options, since Nintendo eShop doesn't provide as much options that Nuuvem nowadays does. Other success case that I wanted to browse is Warner and Nuuvem partnership. We have a partnership with Warner for a long time, but we saw that has a lot of more potential that it had at the moment. So we engage with the local team to increase their marketing through Nuuvem. So we did a lot of marketing activities to increase not only their reach on Nuuvem store, but also outside Nuuvem. We do a lot of promotion activities with them in events as well. Here you can see we received a plaque from Warner, commemorating 1 million units of Warner games sold in Nuuvem. So it was a real big accomplishment that Nuuvem did, not only for us, but for our partner as well. And this is what we want to do in general. We want to help we want to help global developers, global publishers to have more engagement, have more conversion here in the region. And I think from my side, that's it. And I wanted to open for questions. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Julia. I really, really appreciate it. It's been very, very interesting listening to you there. I wonder, I mean, out of curiosity, I mean, are you aware of any sort of, or do you work with any sort of specifically UK companies at the moment, sort of breaking into the Brazilian market at all?
Yeah, we work with, on the top of my mind, we work with PQ. I needed to check to see the countries of other publishers that we work with, but we do work with a lot of European publishers. I don't know if Hooded Horse is from UK. I think they are, not sure, but yeah, we work with some UK companies, of course.
No, that's good to know. That's really, really good to know.
Yeah, but always open to work with more.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Julia. Really appreciate it. I'm going to welcome our final guest speaker, Daniel. Bear with me, Daniel. I'm just going to promote you to panelist. There we go. Where are we? There we go. Fantastic. So yes, thank you so much for joining us, Daniel. I really appreciate it. So Daniel's going to look at some of the sort of consumer trends in Brazil and run through some of the results of the latest sort of game survey, Brazilian game survey in Brazil. I think it'll be very, very insightful. Daniel, over to you. Can you speak at all? Do you have?
Hi, Leo. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you just fine, and I'm sure
Perfect.
our audience can as well.
So let's do this. Let me try to share my screen real quick to see if it's working as well. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, you might need to put it into sort of presentation mode, but
Okay.
apart from that.
Just super quick before I go on the actual survey, just wanted to do a little intro about me and in Galaxies. So I'm the co-founder of Galaxies and the CEO, and today head of data. And we are a company trying to solve the problem of the annually waste that is spent on market research and market data. And what we developed basically is a full stack technology to gather data, to build insights, and help companies make decisions. Of course, we've been working very closely in gaming, specifically in the last 2 years. And what we build is a tech that helps us gather first-party data, business questions and answers, both in events or full online, can be fully embedded also in other sites, websites, games, and as we choose to do so. And we've been working with several companies in Brazil in the region, which would be from TikTok, Meta, Carrefour, Logitech, big banks like Santander, which is Bradesco, Monster Energy Drink, Tel, and some other ones. And we are currently helping them to understand the behavior of gamers and how to target these audience to sell other products, right? But of course, we also have a lot of data around gaming habits. So it was a little short notice, so I tried to bring the best material that I could, but the most recent one that we do have is a report that was designed to be sent, not to be presented, so it's vertical. I hope you guys can see it fairly well in this type of visualization. I think I can try to present full screen, but it's a little bit worse, I think, than actually trying to zoom in.
I think that's okay. Maybe if we
keep the zoom
through some of them,
like this. Because I think the full screen version just doesn't allow me to zoom it in. Let me try it again. Sorry. Oh, it actually does. Sorry. So okay, let's start from the beginning. So this is the latest survey collection project that we did locally in Brazil in October. We were working closely with Brazil Game Show. I think Julia just actually mentioned it's one of the biggest gaming events in the world. I think it's the second in terms of B2C clients that are attend. Around 3,000 clients that attend in the event in the 5 days. And we tried to gather information around not only the gaming habits, but as they perceive or remember other brands like energy drinks, banking, peripherals, headsets, mouses, and this type of consumption as well. So we're going to go a little bit over that, and I'm going to try to keep it brief so we have time for questions as well. So we had 4,372 single users that answered these questions in place in the event during the 5 days. We designed 10 different questionnaires to be answered in a gamified experience throughout the event. And these are some of the key takeaways that we had. So today, I think Brazil is a vibrant, digitally oriented market with significant potential for growth and monetization when we think especially around mobile and also PC more recently, and with a strong tendency to lean to social and competitive elements in gaming as well. Some of the key takeaways got from the data collection we did in the event was that the core of the audience, the most engaging audience that was in this type of events or go to in-person events would be Gen Z and millennial in terms of generation, with higher education levels. We're going to see, but most of them are in college or have been to college. And also 34% at least have completed high school. So it's a highly educated, considering the rest of the country, type of audience. In terms of hardware preferences as well, there's a strong brand loyalty for some of the gaming peripherals brands like Logitech that's leading 30% market share, followed by Red Dragon and HyperX. When you think about mobile device, Samsung dominates the mobile gaming segment with 40% market share, followed by Apple and Xiaomi, both for 25 and 16%, which indicate a diverse price point accessibility. But in this case, Samsung is the one that is most consumed and remembered because of the range of options they sell, from more entry points type of mobile phones all the way to the higher end like Galaxy type of phones. And when you think about in-person events, so 86% of the gamers which were present appreciate brand involvement in gaming events, showing a high receptive to commercial partnerships and activations. So I think it's an audience that is more in tune with the fact that the brands that are what we call outside the gaming space would be part of this type of events, and they see this more naturally. And when you think about the preferences, 60% prefer gaming-specific venues for events, while 31% favor traditional sports venues, demonstrating a desire for dedicating gaming environments. This will be something more tailored around esports events. When we think about education and employment, as just mentioned, most gamers are either working professionals or studying while working, suggesting significant purchasing power and market potential as well. When we think about transportation, only 16% use ride-sharing apps to go to gaming events, while most of them use in public transportation. So it's something to consider while trying to organize an event like this locally in the region. And when we think about cross-platform gaming, 72% use gaming consoles, while with PlayStation leading with 44%, followed by Xbox and Nintendo with 11%. Around consumer behavior, there's a strong preference for gaming-related brands and experience, with 60% favoring gaming-specific venues and merchandise as well, when they try to do buying decisions that are not connected necessarily to the gaming space for another products they consume in general. Let me continue. When you think about the demographic profiles, so as I mentioned, this was an in-person event that occurred in one of the states of Brazil that is called São Paulo. So it's natural that we will have a higher presence of people that are regional from the states in terms of the audience that we have. So that's why we have 75% here are from this state. But in general, the audience is male and Gen Z, if we have to do a summary as a median average of the audience. And the characteristic also that we will consider during the rest, we will take this into consideration, of course. This is not supposed to be a representation of the whole population of the country, but much more perceived as a representation of the highest engagement population within the gaming space that is available to buy this type of events and go to this type of events. And also a little bit around the gender. As I mentioned, we had a higher masculine presence in this case, in this event, in the collection we had, with 68, around 30% in terms of feminine audience. In terms of range of age as well, we see that, as I mentioned, Gen Z has a higher representation, followed by millennials. Underage population is 13%. And also we see around 12% would range from 40 to 50 in general, and 60 was one with much more, not a significant representation in the collection we did. And when we think, as I mentioned, individual income, this is not the household income, is the individual income. We see we have a higher representation for 1,000 to 3,000 Brazilian reais. That would be around 700, I think, pounds today. And considering the age, those would be people that live either with a partner or keep living with parents. So this is considered a higher income in terms of compared with the rest of the country, right? So 42% are in this range. Also, we see 20 already 2 to 5 and 10 and to 11 here on the higher end, and the least amount of representation to be on the less than one national income base salary as a median average. So when we continue talking a little bit about physical events and presence in events, going a little bit deeper in this regard. So when we asked about location for events or esports championship, we see that 60% prefer spaces owned by the teams or esports teams, or either by brands that are related to the gaming worlds, or how would you call like endemic brands that are within the same space of gaming, selling either gaming accessories or gaming products, and not brands that consider non-endemic, for example, financial companies, banks, or either companies from outside the space. 31% prefer the event to be held in spaces such as stadiums, arenas, or gymnasiums, and 9% are more interested in event space of brands not related, so a minority of the respondents. Also, something that is interesting, although 60% of participants have a preference for gaming events that take place in locations, we have a significant part of respondents that said that a good portion is more preoccupied or interested in immersive experience with features that will have different type of activations. So another way to say or explain this would be experience they couldn't find digitally or relevant experiences on the physical space. When you think about brand engagement, as I mentioned, the majority, 86% prefer involvement from other brands and companies. So it's a space that is more natural for these companies to be a part of nowadays. And I think 8 of 10 respondents also said they would be interested in activations or sponsorships and the presence of brand that makes sense and elevates or generate a better experience. So it's not just to be present per se, but the presence itself has to have meaning or have to complement the experience of the events. It cannot be something that breaks the either immersion or the thing they're looking for when they go to this type of events. Also something that is relevant when we think about transportation, as I mentioned, a lot of them will use metro or buses or public transportation, and also something that is a characteristic of the region is a lot of them will use cars, their own cars, and a minority of them will try to use like a bicycle or a taxi or either on foot, right, or caravan. And transportation apps, as I mentioned previously as well, is something that is on the minority of the users. So it's something relevant to plan an in-person event in the region. When we talk about brand preference, something interested, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar, but the betting has been legalized in Brazil in the following, I think, the last 12 months. So now we've seen a great rise of betting companies coming to the region or being trying to be formalized. So it's something that a lot of the brands we're working with, either in games or outside, are asking for us to try to map out which is their betting behaviors around this region. So we asked about betting for these customers, and we found that today there's not a single winner or a brand that already is in the mind of the consumer regarding betting, which could either select that it's not something they're consuming, or there's opportunity for a brand that wants to come into the space and try to fill this gap. When you think about chocolates, there's relevant distribution in the 3 first players, which will be Tortuguita. I'm not sure if the chocolate that exists outside Brazil, but Hershey's, I think, of course, exists, and Trento as well. So if you consider median deviation, it's basically a tie in the 3 first options here in terms of chocolates. And when we go to energy drinks, we see significant difference between Monster, Red Bull, and basically all the others that were listed as options in the survey. So Monster is leading by 3-fold against Red Bull in this segment currently, and all the others like TNT, Fusion, Flying Roars, Rain, Burn, Furioso are all below 3%. When we think about peripherals, we also see a dominance from Logitech, which is the first, almost twice as the second one. And then we see Red Dragon, HyperX, Razer, and Pichau, which is actually in an e-commerce that sells peripherals as well. And after that, Alienware, none of the above, and LG. And Kingston, AOC, Havoc, Fallen Star, Cougar, and other ones below 4% in terms of brand preference. When you think about monitors, these are samples of the questions that we asked. Samsung also leads with most, like 2 times, almost 4 times fold the second as a brand preference, 38% against 13, 11, 7, and all the other ones beyond 6 or below 4, which are LG, Alienware, AOC, Asus, and Acer. And when we think about cell phones as well, we see something similar. So Samsung leads with almost 2-fold the second, which is Apple with 27%. Then we see Xiaomi with 16, Motorola and other brands like Asus, Sony, Google, LG, Microsoft, Huawei, Lenovo, OnePlus, and Nokia all below 4%. Regarding e-commerce, we have a significant presence of Amazon as the leading player, but also a local player, which is Kabun, that was bought by Magazine Luiza. It's another relevant e-commerce player in the region with 23%. And basically, between all the other players, we have 22. And we see Magalu, Calunga, Americanas, Fast Shop, and all the others below 5% in the terms of preference for buying online. When we take a look for the beauty and self-care brands, we also see there's no a single winner or a brand that is represented with the majority of the respondents. But here is a mistranslation, is actually Boticario, which is also a company that's be relevant in Brazil and overseas. We see Natura, Nivea, La Roche-Posay, CeraVe, Avon, Creamy, but all of them, considering standard deviation, would be tied from second, third places, and a lot of them below 5%, with the second one here being Boticário, but no, not a single brand is the clear winner in this space yet with this audience. And something interesting as well, when we cross with segment between the genders here, even including that this male gender and female gender had a significant difference in the collection we had, there's a significant preference or more preference when we talk about the female audiences having beauty and care brands that they prefer or they buy on an occasion. And as I mentioned, 25% of men say they have no preference for any brands listed. And when we see as well a segment by gender identity between betting, chocolates, peripherals, monitors, we see that some of brands, for example, energy drinks, peripherals, monitors, cell phones, e-commerce, and beauty and care, they will be very, very similar. Betting, there's a difference, but as I mentioned, there's no clear brand yet taking this place among the mind of all consumers. And when we think about the relationship with gamers, 72% use console as a device to play games nowadays, and 28% responded that they do not play on consoles when they ask which console do you play on. So as a 7-3 or 70% rounded percentage of audience now using consoles as gaming devices. And when we ask about which console, as I mentioned, PlayStation is leading with twice the exposure of Xbox or Nintendo. I think that's it for this slide. And I'm going to skip a little bit on the details on the peripherals. I think that's not that relevant for the discussion now, for us to be able to go inside a little bit more on the gaming habits here. So when you think about the player profile, of course, there's several different motivations or frequency or relationship with games that divide them with characteristics. So we try to use like a phrase that defines the profiles and the personas we try to create to segment the different behaviors between gamers, which we think for many brands, this is a mistake in which they try to target the whole gaming space or gaming audience as a whole, and they don't use the difference of behaviors or everything else to build their strategy, right? So we have the regular gamer, which is 27% of the whole respondents that we had, which would be classified as I play frequently, I have a good level of knowledge and skill, and I invest a significant amount of time in games. So regular games are dedicated mostly to PC as their main platform and play frequently, usually between 3 and 4 times a week. Most of them play after tiring day or when they feel bored, using games for entertainment and fun. However, they also value story and narrative, which reveals an interest and immersive aspect of games. Regular gamers feel authentic, comfortable, and fulfilled in both the gaming world and real life, with a slightly larger proportion opting for the digital environment when it comes to comfort, in spite of the actual real environment or real life. Here, we have an analysis of how this type of gamer consumes different genres, for example, FPSs or RPGs, and also how they behave a little bit more in details in terms of percentage, but I think this is the general idea, so I'm going to skip so we have time to go for all of them. When we think about the amateur player, it's a 18% representation in the sample of this collection that we did. They're characterized by, I play mainly for fun. I have some level of knowledge and skill, but I don't dedicate myself almost exclusively or a lot to play games. Amateurs have a more diverse profile in terms of platform, using PC, mobile, and console. They have both. They use gaming to relax and to experience the narrative or challenges of games, and they are attracted to different genres, include FPS and strategy, and feel comfortable in both real and virtual worlds. For them, games is a leisure activity and a way to escape boredom, although they do not show a strong connection to the act of spending money in games. So this is a type of segment of consumers that usually is on the free-to-play side and don't expand even on microtransactions. The competitive, which represented I think on the smaller side of the sample, 9%, are the ones that say, I play professionally or with the intention of competing at a high level, getting deeply involved and dedicated a lot of my time and effort in gaming. The competitive players are focused on performance and progression within games, preferring the PC for daily sessions, often seeking to overcome challenges and rewards inside the games. Many who use games to relieve stress and anxiety, but they differentiate themselves by their taste for social aspect in online interaction. They share the view that games can be therapeutic and have a stronger connection with the digital environment, seen as a space where they feel more authentic and fulfilled. The last two segments that we created within this analysis that we did are the dedicated and the casual. The dedicated represented 24%, which are people that classify as, I am very involved with electronic games, dedicating a large part of my free time in this activity, taking games seriously and always seeking to improve. This is a sample that is characterized by standing out for daily gaming frequency, which is almost every day or daily or every day, and a deep connection to the game universe, which would be beyond playing, actually consuming content and other forms of social activities within the space. They prefer PCs and have the highest Steam usage rate to play compared to the other audiences, reflecting their dedication to the hobby. They also seek fun but significant number of games as, and they see games as a financial investment and agree that playing replaces form of therapy. Their emotional connection to games is strong since the environment is a part of the daily routine and works as an escape valve. Although most say that they can feel comfortable, fulfilled, and be who they are, many find the digital world a safe place to express themselves. When we talk about the casuals, are the ones that say, I play sporadically, usually to relax or have some light entertainment, and they represent 21% of the audience. Casuals who play games at a varying frequencies, but daily sessions with lower intensity. Even when they play, they don't usually play for 2 to 4 hours. It's usually less than an hour or an hour. They play mainly to relax after a tiring day to overcome challenges, especially users that play FPS or open world games. Most feel equally comfortable between gaming world and real world, but a significant number feel more authentic in real life, which reflects a balanced view of the role of games, which is contracts with the other types of personas that we gather. And only 2% of the whole sample said they do not consider themselves as gamers, or be characterized by this definition what would be to be called a gamer, which is interesting because 95% of survey participants that we gather say they play video games with some type of frequency, and the everyday frequency with 48% is the one that won, followed by 3-4 times a week with 30%, and 1 to 2 or a few times a month with the least representation of the sample. So if we see the ones that play every day to 4 times a week, we will have 78% of all respondents, which mean that they do not only play in general, most of them play, but they do play a lot in terms of sessions and engagement. For how long have they been playing? So 44% say they have been playing games for more than 15 years, showing that games have been present in people's lives for a long time, which is very interesting when we talk with a lot of brands. So gaming being more of a habit than a passing trend or more than a hobby. And we see as well that FPS now locally has a high representation of interest or being played, followed by open world, MMORPGs, strategy, battle royale, mobile, running, sports, and card games. This is a multi-choice question, of course, so that's why the numbers wouldn't amount to 100. And also when we segment between the male and female audiences, we see a difference, which FPS is even higher, and with the female audiences it's lower. Open world is pretty much equal. RPGs as well is higher, but strategy grows in the female audience when you compare it to the male one. Battle Royale is almost similar as well with 34 and 28. MOBA is higher as well in the male with 28 and 20. Racing, sports, and card game is also one which is almost equal, a little bit higher on the feminine end as well. We talk a little bit about where they play, but when we see generally PC is the most represented platform with 70% of the respondents. Next comes the cell phone and the console. I think something that is interesting to mention is most of the respondents do play in 2 or 3 platforms currently, and not only one, which is also something that is relevant. And when we segment as well by gender, we see a higher percentage of male audience which is playing the PC. And when we compare the cell phone, a higher female audience that is playing on cell phone, 64-48. And when we think about console, it's pretty much equal. When we think about age group segmentation as well, we see that PC nowadays is actually higher when we look about 18, 18, 20, and also 20, 25, and not the highest between 45 to 60. And also cell phone, which pretty much equal distributed between 50, when we only see underage playing more on cell phones, and console as well is higher on the older age groups. When we think about income segmentation as well, we see that income has a difference in platform, where we see a difference between less than 1 to 3, 3 to 5 here, going all the way to 80, 60, 74, then coming back to 60 between the PC, but the cell phone is present kind of horizontally around the 50%, only falling here a little bit on the 3 to 5,000 income, and console is 40, 45, 45, and then grows to 65 and 60, 67 and 63, sorry, when we look about 5 to 8 and 8,000 reais as income. And this is a little bit about why do they play and why the motivations around playing. So relaxing and unwinding is the one with 61%. Boredom, or to kill boredom, we see with 46. And as a part of my daily regional entertainment routine, 35. During times of stress and anxiety, we see as well 30%. And seeking socialization and interaction with friends online communities, the least represented reason for gaming, with 20%. When we compare between motivations between the types of personas of the gamers, we also see a difference. So when we move from the regular casual all the way to competitive players, we see that entertainment and fun is falling, it's slowing down or being less representative, and challenging, overcoming challenges in obstacle grows, and also socializing is less important when we think about casual and amateur, and then it grows a lot when we see dedicated and competitive players. And searching for reward and progression is interesting, that as well is less when we think about casual and amateurs, and grows a little bit more when we see dedicated and competitive players. So although the search for entertainment and fun is the main driver for someone wanting to play a game in general, 72%, these motivations vary greatly between profiles of players that we do find when we segment. And when we think about media and consumption of esports content, also we see a difference between platforms, but also we see YouTube and Twitch nowadays keep basically being the dominant platforms chosen by every type of profile of the gamers to consume this type of content. But we see as well that more competitive players have a larger tendency to be more diverse, and they use more platforms to follow probably more channels as well. And less competitive or more casuals will tend just more to YouTube than actually Twitch, and probably don't tend to go to other platforms like TikTok or Instagram or Discord to search this type of content or consume this type of content as well. And I think in general, that's it. I think there's much more to the report, but I think this is the core of the, I think, most interesting parts. And I think we can open a little bit for questions if somebody has some of them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Really appreciate you talking us through that report. Out of curiosity, I might have missed this at the very beginning. I do apologize if I did. Is this report available anywhere online? Is it available to download?
It will be published by the end of this week, beginning of next week.
Ah, okay,
because,
yes.
yeah, so it's pretty fresh.
Well, we've got a nice advanced preview of that. That's really, really good. What I'll do is I might chase you down for a link when it comes out. So yeah, I'll pop a note down for that. Wonderful. If there are any questions at all, this Daniel's talk was our last of today. But otherwise, I can always put you in touch or share an email address or two. That's not a problem. If something comes through afterwards, please just let me know. All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Daniel, and thank you as well to all of our speakers for today.